microphone wasn't turned on, so we'll try again. Okay. Okay, so let's get our textbooks out. Do you guys want to do a quick review of the vocab again, or do you feel like you're ready to go straight into making sentences? Okay, people who would like to do vocabulary first. Okay. If there are people wanting to do it, then we should do it, because that means it's helping. Okay, let's start with kanji today. So, ichiji, go, yakuman, which translates to what? 1 million. Which one? Kuji. Kuji. Kuji, which is 9 o'clock. Koji is 5. Hai. 2. Hai. Yon. Hai. Juji is 10 o'clock. Hai. 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 3,000. Hai. Ichi, yep. Sanji, hai. Nana or Shichi, yeah. Hai. Juman, hai. Bakuman, hai. Shichiji, yeah. Hai. Hai, okay. Some vocab. Hai, turn. Hai.
It's gotta be Sunday.
Hai, Nichiyobi, Sunday. Do is
To sleep.
to sleep. Hai. Hai, benkyou suru, benkyou shimasu, translates to study. Hai. Hai, miru mimasu, see. Hai. Hai, Saturday.
School.
Hai.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Hai.
Nice. Zashi magazines.
Hai. Hai.
Ocha. ET.
Hai.
Kuro.
Hai.
Shirumatsu.
Hai.
Weekend.
Hai.
Zen. Not at all.
Not at all. Hai.
Taite sometimes.
Taite. This is closer to usually. Yeah, taite is a higher percentage than tokidoki. Tokidoki usually gets translated as sometimes, taite as usually. Okay, this one is tokiru, tokimasu. To do
Wake up.
what? To wake up. Hai.
Early.
Hai.
Surushimasu.
Surushimasu.
To do.
To do. Hai.
This evening.
Yes, this evening. Konban. Sen. Hai.
Uchi.
Household home. Hai.
Dinner.
Dinner. Hai. lunch,はい。
デート、
なんかデートに
はい。
なんか朝ごはん、
はい。
コーヒー、
カップ
はい。
飲みます。
はい。
ちょっと、a little,
A little bit, はい。
でも、but,
はい。
時々、
That sometimes, はい。
そうですね。Is that right? Let me see. 話します。
はい。
読みます。
はい。
今日、やってる。
Obvious one, yes?
Yes.
But,
Our
house, our house, はい。
いつ、when,
When, はい。
テレビ、テレビ、
Television, yeah, テレビ.
テニス、
Yep,
そうですね。
pretty obvious one, right?
Every night.
Yes, every night, 毎晩, every evening.
よく、
Well, はい。Or often also.
often. どうですか How is it?
How is it? はい。どうですか? How about?
来る、来ます。
Yes.
So that means to come.
Yes, 来る来ます to come.
食べる、食べる。
はい。食べる、食べます to eat.
Eat, good.
Good, はい。
あまり、not often.
Not much, yeah. Hardly ever. Something like that.
毎日。
はい。
水、
water,
はい。
朝、morning.
はい。
映画、
Movie, はい。
お酒、酒、
お酒。
スポーツ。
Sports, yeah. What it sounds like, right?
why don't they have like their own name for sports?
I think that because this tends to incorporate Western style sports, most of what you might call sport in Japanese culture is from the West. The things that they have that were traditional were things like sumo wrestling and kendo and, you know, judo and all those kinds of martial arts things, which they didn't originally consider them to be sports. They were real. You know, you know, 400 years ago, if you were learning how to use a sword, it wasn't to compete in a sports competition. So I think that's probably why the concept of that being for sport and not for some serious purpose came from the West. So that's why it ended up being a kind of word, I think. Because if you think about it, even sumo, which is now treated as a sport in Japan, its origin is a religious ceremony. You know, the sumo wrestlers were not wrestling to entertain humans. Originally, they were wrestling to entertain the gods. And it changed over time, but all of the traditional Japanese arts that could be considered competitive these days had their origins either as a martial art, which was used for real warfare, or as something that was in more of the religious arena originally, and now it's treated differently. So, you know, most of the performance arts like kabuki and stuff like that had their origins also in religious
Kabuki.
ceremonies. Japanese theater, where they have like the white base coat and then crazy
the-
colors around their eyes and stuff, and they wear full kimono and everything, and it's all male actors even playing the female roles. You know, that's, kabuki is like, its origins were ceremonies that were going on in Shinto shrines, and then over time it evolved into entertainment for the masses, not just for religious ceremonies. But the origins of no theater, kabuki theater, Japanese traditional dances, all of them had religious origins. So it's very interesting that the Shinto religion was originally just fully integrated into people's lives. You know, it wasn't like, oh, you go to a service on Sunday and then the rest of the week you just pretend like your religion doesn't exist. You know, that's kind of a modern mindset, you know. But traditional Shinto believers would have seen spirits everywhere, seen everything that happened in their lives as some sort of message from the gods or something, you know. And so the whole lifestyle was permeated with it in the ancient times. So, okay, let's review our radicals of equipment.
Dagger axe.
Dagger axe, yeah.
Eye.
Eye.
Ear.
Ear.
Foot.
Foot.
Gold.
Gold, yes, metal.
Gate.
Gate.
Short-tailed bird.
Short-tailed bird, yeah.
Rain.
Rain.
Horse.
Horse.
Power.
Power.
Right hand again.
Yes, again, or right hand. No. Sun.
Moon.
Moon.
Tree.
Tree.
Field.
Field.
Speech.
Speech to say.
Cowrie shell.
Cowrie shell, yeah. Run or walk.
Race. Enclosure.
Enclosure, yeah. Ground, soil, yeah.
Evening.
Evening, sunset.
Large, big.
Large, big, great. Woman, yeah. Child.
Inch measure. Small measure.
What was that? Inch, yeah, like a short measurement. Think inch, that's close enough. It's not an exact inch, but it's somewhere around that kind of a size, inch, centimeter-ish kind of measurement. Okay, these guys are tart. This one is
Labor, work.
labor, work. No, that would have the other piece under it.
I would call that the thread radical. The other one with the piece under it would be fine silk.
Yeah, but this isn't actually thread, it's tiny.
Alright.
Bow, yeah. Small, yeah. Hand, yeah, the two versions of hand. Person, yeah, and the other person. This one is
Sword or knife.
knife, yeah.
Water.
Water, and the other water. Okay, this one is
Shell on altar.
to show. Eat,
Also
yeah,
eat.
two versions of eat. Okay, these guys are
Clothing garment.
clothing, yes. This
Fine silk.
is fine silk, right? And this
Oil.
last one is fire. Okay.
What is the cone shell or something?
Cowrie shell?
Yeah.
It's a kind of shell. It's a picture of a kind of shell. You've seen them. They're sort of oblong. They look like you rolled something up into a tube, and lines that way, and if there's a creature, it would be living in here.
Oh, okay.
And sometimes they have like a little piece at the bottom at one end or something. So that's kind of where that shape is coming from. Yeah,
And there was
you've got the lines there, you've got the general outline of it.
And there's the two pieces. It was mouth and
Yeah,
eye, I think. No, not like it was.
mouth and enclosure
Yeah.
that are almost the same.
Yes.
Yeah. The difference is that enclosure is gonna have something inside of it every time.
Okay.
It doesn't stand alone as its own character. If you see an empty box, it's mouth.
Okay.
The only time you see enclosure as an empty box is when it's in a list of radicals. Otherwise, in actual, like, real usage and real vocabulary words, it always will have something in it.
Okay.
This is the example of the word for country, kanji for country.
Okay.
But, you know, it's also like the word for map has the enclosure component. I'm not thinking of the ones other good examples right now. But like the word for library, toshokan, is map, book, building. So, you know, so it occurs a lot. You'll see plenty of enclosure characters once you start reading more kanji. So it's good to know that that's what that is, and it usually has some sort of enclosure or border type meaning associated with it. So that's why, you know, country is an obvious one, because it's got a border. Right?
Okay.
Okay?
That explains things.
Okay, yeah, I think you were absolutely the
Yes.
first one over radicals, so. Okay, let's look at,
Can I ask a question? The tester would have to be able to label these or label them and rate them.
on the test, you're only gonna have to be able to write the characters that are actually part of this chapter,
Okay.
okay? But I do want you to know what the meanings of the radicals are, more for future reference than anything else. This is more about building your skills so that when we continue learning characters the rest of this semester and next semester and going forward, if you're continuing on with Japanese, that you've got the building blocks to learn. You know,
Okay.
not learning radicals is a little bit like not learning the whole English alphabet, but then trying to learn how to spell words, even though you haven't learned how to write all the letters yet. You know, just because you don't use the X that often, doesn't mean you don't need to know what it is, right? You know, so if you can learn not just these basic radicals that we've introduced, but actually look at even more of them online and just learn them little by little, it's gonna help you because, you know, let's say, talking about like this symbol that is a cliff. Well, it occurs in dozens of characters, so if you already know it, then when you learn one of the characters that has it, instead of, oh, that's two random lines I've never seen before together, it's, oh, that's the cliff, I know that. You know, you see what I'm saying? Or the lid, pot lid, you know, it's usually more symmetrical than that. But, you know, if you know that one already, then when you learn it in a character, it's no big deal. Grass radical. If you already know it, then the first time you see it on the top of the word for flower, it's like, oh yeah, flowers grow on the grass, so it makes sense, right? Or bamboo radical. You know, it's one of the ones that occurs on a number of things that were traditionally made with bamboo, such as a calligraphy pen. You know, that sort of makes sense, right? It was made out of bamboo, why wouldn't it have the bamboo radical, right? You know, so there are, I think, upwards of 100 basic radicals. But if you knew all of them, that becomes like a window into probably thousands of characters that you might want to know. And then there are some components that aren't technically considered radicals in the sense that they usually don't get used in the traditional ways that radicals were used, which was not only to indicate partial meaning or general meaning of a character, but also as a way of looking the character up in a paper dictionary. There are other components that are just called components, not radicals, because they occur frequently as, oh yeah, I've seen that before, but it's not necessarily a radical. But if you learn those components as well as the common radicals, that's like learning your capital and lowercase letters and what those letters look like in half a dozen different fonts. So then, you know, you go to spell a word in English and it doesn't matter that it's written in some crazy calligraphy font, you can still figure out what the word is, right? If you know your radicals and components in Chinese characters, then you can look at any new character you've never seen before and at least reproduce it in writing, which helps if you're trying to look it up, because if you're using a smartphone app to look it up, you can actually draw it on your screen to look it up that way. If you're looking it up online, a lot of the newer online Japanese dictionaries will give you the option of a box where you can draw it with your mouse to look it up. And you can also find ways of looking it up by the radical, which is where you basically say, okay, well, I think this is probably the radical. Okay, so you click on that segment in the dictionary, and then it gives you a listing of all the characters that have that radical. And you look at the one you're trying to figure out and say, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's got 4 pieces underneath the radical. So you go down to the 4-stroke segment and see if you can find this under this heading and the number 4 subheading. And that's the old way of looking up Chinese characters. You know, that's what you had to do back in the day. Anytime you saw a character you didn't know and you couldn't get hold of somebody to tell you what it was. You just had to literally take a guess. Okay, I think this is probably the radical. Okay, and I guess the rest of this part, it's probably 4 strokes for the rest of that. So I look under this radical, the 4-stroke section. If you find it, great. If you don't find it, check the 3 and the 5 just in case you miscounted. Still not finding it? Well, maybe that wasn't the radical after all. Maybe I'd better look it up by the person radical and see if I find it that way. It was a lot of trial and error. Yeah. One of my Chinese teachers in high school, anytime I came across a word I didn't know, I'd ask him what it was, and he'd be like, look it up yourself. And, 20 minutes later, I finally figure out what it is. It's like, oh, I've looked this one up before, I remember it now. And he's like, see, you should have memorized it. He was cold sometimes. So, anyway. Okay, so anytime you've got a character where you know what the components are, that's helpful, right? It is also helpful for just memorization, something like the G, sun, soil, inch. If you know those 3 components, isn't that a lot easier to remember it that way than just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 random lines? Right? Okay, so let's do some pair work. So first part, Kyuju Hachipeiji, we were up to asking somebody what time they do something, and the next person answering with what time they do that. So we're going to kind of go around the room. Kyuju Hachipeiji. Hi, we're on part B. So, Zeta-san, I'm going to let you ask
oki masu ka.
Okay. Nanji ni okimasu ka?
Nanji go wait
Goro.
goro oki ka.
Hi. So what's the difference between those two? Nanji ni okimasu ka versus nanji goro okimasu ka? What's the meaning difference between those two versions of the question?
Approximately.
Yes, the first one is just what time do you wake up? The second one is about what time or approximately what time do you wake up? Okay? And so how would you answer? You can give
8時に起きます。8時頃起きます。
Right. Notice also that even if you ask one of these forms of the question, the person answering can choose to swap forms. So just because you ask nanji ni okimasu ka doesn't mean the other person has to give you the specific answer. They could say 8時頃起きます if that's what they want to say, right? Just because you ask it as a precise question doesn't mean the other person has a precise answer for you. They might have a sort of approximate answer for you. Okay? So, Duna-san, I'm going to let you ask Avery-san, bless you, one of the question options from the schedule there.
So get up is the example, so I'm going to ask. So, 何時に朝ごはんを食べますか?
Goes in on the G.
Goes in shichiji.
Goes in shichiji ni. What was it again? Yeah. 食べます。
食べます。はい。Okay, so 午前7時に食べます。Right?
Yeah.
はい。Okay, now it's your turn to ask. Okay.
Nanji ni ikumasu. Right. That was the
First, what do you need before the verb? Where is she going?
place. School.
Right. So, nanji ni.
Nanji ni.
Let's break this down. So, notice that even though you don't know the kanji for nan yet, you can still write the ji in kanji. Okay, so nanji ni.
So nanji ni daigaku.
Okay, well, daigaku would be college, but school would be
Gakko.
gakko. Gakko, and then what particle do you need after that?
Oh, right. Sorry.
If you look at the verb you're planning to use, it'll give you a hint. Maybe not in the conjugation section, but in the vocab list, it actually gives you a hint about particles, doesn't it?
at the top.
The verb to go.
Iku.
Yeah, iku is the verb. What particle is it telling you in parentheses there?
Ni.
There you go.
Nailed it.
Okay, so nanji ni gakko ni, and then what does iku change to? Remember, iku is the dictionary form. It converts to what?
To.
No, ku changes to what?
Changes to ki.
Ki, exactly. Just think about ka, ki, ku, ke, ko. Okay, so iku changes to ikimasu, right?
Yeah.
So to make it the question, nanji ni gakko ni what?
Ikimasu.
Yep, ikimasu.
Ka.
There you go. That's what you needed. Okay, so nanji ni gakko ni ikimasu ka? Go ahead and say it smooth this time.
Alright. Nanji ni. Gaku ni ikimasu ka?
ね、どうぞ。はい。午後11時半 11:30 p.m.
Oh.
is when you go to school.
11時半
はい、午前11時半に
に
行きます。はい。午前11時半に行きます。いいですか？
Would it be
はい
possible to phrase this question with different verbs? What time do you come to school rather than what time do you go to school?
Yes, okay, so they put it in the book as go to school, so he used that choice. But if you're in school and you're talking about what time do you come, like to this campus, then you would change it from ikimasu to what?
Kimas.
Not kikimasu, that would be what time do you listen
No,
to
no,
school?
no, I said kimas.
Kimasu, there you go, that's the one, yeah, kimasu. Nanji ni kimasu ka? Nanji ni gakko ni kimasu ka? Or nanji ni daigaku ni kimasu ka? Okay, it's that differentiation between ikimasu and kimasu again, where, you know, here's the school, right? And we're already here, right? We're in school right now. So if you're asking, nanji ni kimasu ka? 11時半に来ます. If you're asking about when do you come to school and you're both in school when you're discussing it, then kimasu is the appropriate verb to use. On the other hand, if she took it to mean what time do you go to your other school, because she attends two different campuses, then ikimasu actually fits because she's not there right now, she's here, right? Does that make sense? So, 何時に学校に行きますか? 11時半に行きます. Obviously, you're not there yet, so it must be the other school.
What about if you're at a house or something, and you're saying, what time are you going to go to school? Like,
Then you would use ikimasu there. So if you're at home and you're asking your new roommate or somebody, what time are you going to school? Then, yeah, you would use ikimasu there. いいですか? はい、じゃあ、アンドレアさん、どうぞ。
何時に昼ご飯を食べますか
2時に昼ご飯を食べます。
はい、いいですね。Okay, どうぞ。Now you get to ask Jack what time he goes home.
何時にうちを行きます。
Not o. うち
で
no. に。
Right. 何時にうちに行きますか？
Not ikimasu. You're talking about going to his home, right?
Returning.
So, returning to his house.
帰ります。
Hi, there you go. 何時にうちに帰りますか？
午後3時に帰ります。
はい、いいですね。午後3時に帰ります。Okay. Quick point about place plus de versus place plus ni. Okay. Place de and then an action verb like tabemasu means that you're doing that action in that place. Okay? Place ni, ikimasu, kimasu, kairimasu indicates travel to
So just like your
that place. If you actually put a travel verb, a destination verb like ikimasu with de, then this thing before the de becomes your means of transportation. So if you say uchi de ikimasu, that sounds like you're headed for Oz because you're in a traveling house that's flying through the air or something. You know, because the house is your means of transportation. You know, we're not in Kansas anymore. You know, so de is tricky because it's got that double meaning. Place names plus de generally get used with verbs like tabemasu, nomimasu, yomimasu, kikimasu. They're the location at which you're doing that activity, okay? If you do other kinds of nouns with de, and then ikimasu, kimasu, and kairimasu, those are usually means of transportation. So like, kuruma is car, for example. So kuruma de kairimasu would be I'm returning home by means of car, driving home,
Yeah.
you know, or being driven home, because kuruma de kairimasu doesn't give any information about who's doing the driving. It just means that a car is how you're going to get home. Okay, does that make sense? So the de ikimasu stuff comes up much later, but I just wanted to point that out because otherwise it does start to sound like, okay, is your name Dorothy? You know?
Right.
Okay, stop. Dr. Sveta-san, go to bed one.
何時に寝ますか？
はい。Okay. 何時に寝ますか？
Nanji.
Nanji is asking what time. So you're going to replace the non with a time clock number.
Juichi. Gozen.
Goes in or go? AM or PM?
Go.
Okay, go.
Go.
Yeah.
Juichi.
G.
Juichi.
G.
Juichi.
G. And then the particle would be
Ni.
ni. Good. And then the verb.
Namaska.
Nemasu. 午後11時に寝ます。Okay. いいですか? Okay. Do we need to take a quick minute to review how to write the kanji? Would that be helpful right now before we go on to more time phrases? Because it seems like people are still struggling to read and write the kanji.
Yes.
Okay. So, since there's plenty of markers, plenty of board space, and very few people, everybody come grab a marker.
15.
some people want to stand on the sideboard, that's okay too, if you don't feel like crowding all together, but everybody, come on. You know how to go. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of put myself in the middle so that everybody can kind of model what I'm doing. Okay, we're gonna start with the easy ones. You ready? Okay, so ichi, just like that. Just one horizontal line. Everybody try it. Ichi. There. Okay. Ni, short line, longer line. Okay. San, medium, short, long. All parallel. There you go. Okay. Yon, the left hand vertical first. Okay, that line. Then starting from this top corner, bent line like that. Okay. Then fill in the middle. 1, 2. And then close the bottom. There you go. Let's try that one again, because
It's making the top kind of curve, is that?
it's a little bit of a trapezoid. This first vertical line has a slight tilt to it. This one has a little bit of a tilt to the bent piece. Slightly left of middle, slightly right of middle for the two interior pieces. Don't close it until after you've done the middle. Okay, so remember it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so,
Do I need more of a bend than that?
hmm?
Do I need more of a bend than that?
No, that's enough bend.
Okay.
Yeah, so, okay, so does everybody see how the stroke order is working for number 4? That's young, or she. Okay, let's do go. Okay, horizontal, vertical, bent line, bottom. So, ichi, okay. What's ironic is if you look at the stroke order for 4, it's actually 5 strokes. The stroke order for 5 is 4 strokes. And make sure that your piece is not cut through on top of. Okay, so ichi, ni, san, shi. Number 5. You just got. Roku, diagonal on top.
That's diagonal.
Yeah, it's a slight diagonal on top. Then a horizontal. And then left, right. Okay. That's Roku. Shichi, horizontal before vertical. There you go. Okay. Everybody okay on that one?
Yeah,
Okay.
a little tail. What is that?
That's okay. Hachi, left before right. And the right hand one is a little bit longer usually, overhangs the first one slightly, yeah, that's good. Kind of looks like a lopsided volcano. Okay, the volcano that's gonna spew all out to one side and go all the way down on that one.
And now we're living on that
So,
side.
yeah, nobody wants to live in this city, everybody wants to move to this town. Okay. Q, down, bent line with a hook. So you wanna make sure that this has enough of a curve to it. There you go. Okay, it's a little bit like ka, but it goes the other direction.
Vertical first.
Yeah. Okay, so the vertical is first, yes. Okay. Yeah, which is the reverse of ka. Okay, so that's Q. Okay, and Ju, nice and easy, horizontal before vertical, it's just a cross shape. Okay. Okay, there's Ju. Okay, so ichi, ni, san, shi, go, roku, shichi, hachi, kyu, Ju. Everybody good so far? Okay. The next one after Ju, of course, is hyaku. Okay, so here we have horizontal, and then a little diagonal, okay? And then you start your box the same way, so left side, top and right as a bent line, okay? Interior before you close, okay? There you go. Okay. If you break it down, it's actually, these two are a component, and then this is a short, squat version of sun. Okay. Okay, so that's hyaku. So far, so good? Okay, sen, diagonal, horizontal, and then vertical. Okay, so 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, like that. Okay, that's sen. Okay. So far, so good? Mon. Horizontal. The weird hooked piece, and then the slash. Hooked, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's the mon. A little bit counterintuitive.
Pretty continuous.
Yeah. Okay, so that's mon. Any questions about those? Okay, the next one. Let's do N next. Okay, so again, like you're doing an enclosure, you start with the left vertical, then the bent line, it's got a hook on the bottom. Okay, and then your little vertical, and then you close that. Yes. Okay, that's N. Okay, and our final one, you do your sun first. Okay, so remember it's the same rule. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sun comes first, right?
Yeah.
And then the horizontal, vertical, horizontal is the order 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 for the next component. So you put that right there. Okay. And then the inch component is horizontal, vertical with a hook, dot. Okay, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, like that. And that piece goes right under there. Okay. want the inch to be about the same size or a tad bigger perhaps than the top part, but close to equivalent. Okay. So does that help everybody? Okay, so that's all the characters that you guys need to know for this lesson. Right, I didn't leave any out, did I? I'm pretty sure that was it.
15.
Yeah, so the numbers N and G. Yeah. 15 of them. And that's as many as you're gonna get in any given chapter from now on. It's generally 14 or 15 per lesson for the rest of this book and even the next book.
What page is that?
298ページ。そう、299ページ. It's right after the end of the katakana section.
Okay.
So if you just flip to the back of the book where you've learned hiragana, katakana, 298ページ.
Oh, Q.
はい、298ページ. And if you look at all the different ones that they're showing you, some of them are highlighted in gray and some are not. The gray highlights are the ones that you're actually responsible for now. The non-highlighted ones are more like FYI. They'll come in handy in the future, but for now, there's something there that you're not expected to know how to write yet, so they're not requiring you to be able to write those kanji compounds. So for example, sannensei, you know that vocabulary word, but we haven't learned how to write the kanji for nen or sei yet, so they're not expecting you to write that whole phrase in kanji yet. You can write the san part in kanji and then spell out the rest in hiragana still. If you're writing, you know, Miyagi-san wa sannensei desu or something like that, you could just write the san part in kanji. Make sense? Okay, so that's those. Okay, getting back to using numbers in sentences, let's go back and rework those sentences that we were doing before where we didn't know yet how to put time phrases in. Now we know how to put time phrases in. So let's try it. So starting with the example of Mary's going to read a magazine in the library at 2 o'clock.
Yeah, so go back to 1B.
はい。95ページです。Okay. And they actually give you the example sentence for 1B on 98ページ. So does somebody want to read that for us? Let's see, Sveta, you want to read the example sentence? So they actually show you the example sentence here
Oh, okay.
for that picture.
Good to know. Niji,
はい。
ni, toshi,
図書
tosho, kan, de, di,
雑誌
zashi, o, yo, me,
読み
yomi, mas.
はい読みます。はい2時に図書館で雑誌を読みます。Okay, so if you look at the picture, you can see the order that it's going in too. 2時に図書館で雑誌を読みます。You see how it's kind of working backwards? Time, then location, then object, then verb, right? いいですか？はい、じゃあ、ジュナさん1番お願いします。
1 番、
はい。
なので、そう4時半に、うちで音楽を聴きます。
はい。There's your reference. Okay, that's a typical Japanese sentence word order, right? Okay, and if you really wanted to, you could put person at the beginning. So, yeah, if you wanted to, you could say, Mary-san wa 2時に図書館で雑誌を読みます. Right? And any one of these, you know, this is a unit, this is a unit, this is a unit, this is a unit, right? Any one of those units could be dropped if it's already known or obvious, or if it's unknown and you're just not going to say it because you don't know that piece of information, right? Any one of those units could get dropped. Any one of those units could swap places with any one of the other units, and it would still mean essentially the same thing, okay? The verb's the only absolutely necessary part to make it a sentence in Japanese. It's actually possible for the verb period to be the whole sentence in Japanese, okay? That is conceivable. But obviously right now we're practicing putting together more of those components. So, じゃあ、Avery さん2番お願いします。
Is it like to do tennis? Is that how it is?
はい。
Okay. So, 2時に学校 Wait,
Does yours say 2 o'clock? Mine says Saturday.
Saturday. Oh, I thought we were going by the. Just kidding. Saturday. So, 土曜日に学校でテニスをします。
はい、そうですね。はい、土曜日に学校でテニスをします。じゃあ3番、アンドレアさんどうぞ。
おうちに
Okay、5時にマクドで
マクドでハンバーガーを食べます。
はい。じゃあ、4番、アレックスさん。
Alright. 3時に、
はい。
what is it? 喫茶店
はい。
喫茶店で、
はい。
コーヒーを飲みます。
はい、飲みます。はい。Okay, we lost Jack, so 5番、セタさん、try that one.
Tonight.
Right?
こんばんに
Does kunban take a knee?
No.
Do you know why not? Konban is,
Relational.
it's relative time, because the kon in konban makes it this night. But that this is referring to whichever day you're saying it. So if you say it now, you mean Thursday night. But if you say it tomorrow, you're gonna mean Friday night. If you say it next Tuesday, you'll mean Tuesday night. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's why it doesn't take ni.
Okay, so konban. Is it my house or?
Yeah, just
Either one.
Yeah. There. Terebi wo. There's no. Oh, there's. Mer.
mi.
Miru.
So miru changes to
Mi. Nam. Mi. Oh, I know this one too.
it's a ru verb. So the rule is you drop the ru and add mas.
Mas.
So
Mimas.
mimas. There you go. So one more time.
Konban. Yeah. There. Terebi wo. No, so watch. Mimas.
はい、そうですね。じゃあ6番ジャックさんお願いします。
6番。
はい。
What's that? I don't know what every day is.
ああ。
Mainichi.
Yes. Mhm.
So, Nihon. Yeah, okay.
Every day at college,
Every day at college, they practice.
she speaks Japanese.
Japanese. Okay.
Yeah. So every day was mainichi, right? Does that one take me? No, why not? It's sort of relative, but it's also a frequency adverb. Mainichi is daily, right? That's frequency, right? So mainichi, what?
Mainichi.
What's college?
Daigaku.
Daigaku, yeah. So mainichi daigaku
Ni.
de,
Dead. That's
Huh.
great.
yeah.
Mainichi daikaku de. Ni. Nihongo hanashi.
Nihongo
O
o
hanashi.
hanashimasu. はい。So 毎日大学で日本語を話します。
What is hanashimasu?
To speak.
Oh,
話します。So she speaks Japanese at college every day, right?
Do we know the word renshu? Is that a?
練習します is to practice.
That's not one of our vocabulary words, though.
Not this semester,
Okay.
not this chapter, no. So 毎日大学で日本語を話します。Remember, this textbook was originally written for students studying in Japan. So that would be a true statement for the students in Japan who are studying this book, right? Because this was originally written for schools in Japan that are educating exchange students from all over the world who go to Japan specifically to learn Japanese. And so they're all sitting in a class together with, you know, a couple students from Poland, a couple students from Latin America, a couple students from North America, you know, and they're all learning Japanese together. Okay. いいですか? Any questions about those? Okay, so same deal with part C on the next page. We're gonna add in the clock time at which she's going to these different places. Okay, so Sato-san, I'm gonna let you read the example again.
Nijishi
ichiji ni,
Oh,
one C. So,
oh my gosh. Ichiji shi ni.
there's no she there. Ichiji ni.
What about the she here?
That's a G.
Oh, ichiji. Oh,
Yeah, that's ichiji.
ichiji ni. Nu.
You,
U. U.
you, bin, kyoku,
U. Bin. Kyoku. Ni. Ikimasu.
ikimasu. Right. So if you look at the clock, at the picture rather,
Starts with all stuff.
はい。ichiji ni郵便局に行きます。Right? 1時に郵便局に行きます。じゃあ、ゼルンさん、1番どうぞ。
3時に
はい。
図書館に行きます。
はい、そうです。じゃあ、エイブリーさん2番。
How do you say the?
8時半。
Okay. 8時半に学校に来ます。
はい、来ます。はい。はい、じゃあ、3番、アンドレアさん。
日曜日に喫茶店を
喫茶店に good. Look at the verb and the perspective they're showing you. Yeah, kuru changes to what? No. Kuru is irregular, it changes to kimasu. Okay, so 日曜日に喫茶店に来ます。Okay?
Like a little speech bubble there. She's like, coffee, 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 coffee.
はい。はい。じゃあ、青木さん、4番。
5時半に帰ります。
はい。5時半に帰ります。If you wanted to put a destination word in there, you could say 5時半に家に帰ります。But because the verb 帰ります implies home, if you know that she's not traveling out of the country, you could just leave that part out because 5時半に帰ります implies that, you know, she's returning. Well, returning to where? Where else? Her home, right?
Yeah.
Where else is there for her to return to? She's going back to her house, right? So you can get away with shortening it that way. So 5時半に帰ります or 5時半に家に帰ります either one. じゃあ、ジャックさん、5番お願いします。
明日にアメリカに。
Wait a minute, 明日 is what kind of time phrase?
Adverb.
Actually,
No.
it's more of the relative time. 明日, tomorrow. Yeah, so it does not take me, right? Okay, so try again.
明日アメリカに帰ります。
はい、帰ります。Exactly. So 明日アメリカに帰ります。In that case, you cannot leave out the America part unless the conversation has already been revolving around the fact that she's leaving Japan soon.
Yeah, you just
Right.
say tomorrow.
Yeah, 明日帰ります. If the other person already knows that you mean you're leaving Japan and you're going back to your home country and they know which country that is. If they are missing any of that information, you would need to say 明日アメリカに帰ります to make it clear that you're going home to
Why
the
did you not
US.
say there, America there?
Because America is not her means of transportation. It's the destination.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a very important distinction. When you're pairing things with destination verbs, ni indicates the location that's your destination. De indicates your means of transport.
So it would be America ni.
America ni kaerimasu. Yeah. If you wanted a de in there, it would be like hikoki de, airplane de.
Okay.
Kaerimasu, right? She's going home by means of airplane, right? Not
So-
boat.
So that works in that sentence because that is indicating the place that she does the verb.
Right, this de is indicating the place at which, so this is like at, she's doing the action at this place, okay? But de paired with ikimasu, for example. If you have a noun, de ikimasu, that noun is the means of transport by which you're going. So it would be like kuruma de ikimasu, by means of car, or hikoki de ikimasu, by means of airplane. Jitensha de ikimasu, by means of bicycle. Okay? So like, let's say you live a short bike ride from campus, you could say jitensha de kaerimasu. I'm going to return home on my bike, right? You can't do that with any other particle. De is the by means of particle from modes of transport, but it has to be the noun that you're using with de, and then the verb that indicates
It looks so
that
much,
you're
and I
going.
wrote it a couple times, like my third time writing it down, just can't
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah, well, and this, like I said, this is for a later chapter. We really aren't supposed to be getting into de as a means of transport yet. We're really only supposed to be using de right now for doing an action at a certain place.
They already put it in there.
No, they didn't. They put ni in there.
Oh, they do have that.
Yeah, but that's the other de. That's,
Ah.
you know, toshokan de zashi o yorimasu. That's this one. She's reading the magazine at the library. That's the at meaning of de, not the by means of meaning.
Okay.
Okay. So we are out of time, but for homework, I want you guys to get going on masenka, which is invitations, and then get into the review activities, because we're running out of time on this chapter. You know, if I look at my schedule, it tells me we are, let's see, today's the 22nd? Okay, so we've got like a week and a half left before the chapter test.
Dun, dun, dun.
So we'll have time to finish these activities next week and hopefully also do the kanji section reading activities, which will be very important as well.
Sensei,
Hi,
I can't meet up because I have to drop off something for work.
what, oh, you can't,
No, I have to drop off something for work, but I know you can't do Tuesdays, but I'll definitely do it next Thursday. I know it's cutting it close. Is there another day you could do it? Like, I'm here all week.
it's hard for me to get here on a Monday or Wednesday.
Well, you said you have a later class on Tuesdays?
Yeah.
I can come in after your lunch.
Okay, yeah, that'll work. Yeah,